to Talk at the Town. I'm Robyn Zimmerman. We have Dr. Richard Hummus with us. He is a psychologist, so it's Dr. Hummus, adjunct professor for 43 years, and also a management and development consultant for 30 years. Yeah. Are you originally from Chicago?
No, I'm originally from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, because
yes.
You went to University of Wisconsin.
I did.
But you were saying earlier that you missed Chicago, so you lived in Chicago for
I lived in Chicago for over 50 years.
Oh,
yes.
for 50
yeah.
years. All right. So you've written a book that we're going to talk about, The Myth of Education in America. Hold that up, would
Sure.
you, Dr. Hummus? There you go. So you wrote it in 22.
Correct.
Why?
The reason to publish it was I'm concerned about learning and education and what's happening in public discourse right now, where we're overwhelmed with information, overwhelmed with hyperbole, not a lot of fact out there. And I think the need to step back and look at things and say, for instance, could something else have caused that? Or is there another conclusion I could reach from the same information rather than just being fed stuff?
Well, a quote from you says, when listening or reading, it is invaluable to disassociate oneself from the information and the person who is delivering it and use an analytical concept or concepts to determine value. So you want to explain it a little more in depth?
Yes, actually the professor I talked about, who I had in sociology back in the early 60s, talked about don't go to speeches. You're going to be taken in by the speaker, the presentation rather than the content. You want to be looking at content, better to read a book by that person or read what they said so you're not taken in by that. So my thinking is if you're at a presentation, it's easy to get caught up. Think, back up just a little bit and say, I wonder if there's another alternative, if there's a different answer for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of someone who is a speaker, and so or like a newscaster.
Yes, yes.
And you get caught up in watching them and their tone and their instead of the content of the message.
Yes.
And is it factual? Is it true?
That's true. Are there other options?
Well, and you say students should be taught how to think, not what to think.
Yes. Well, our whole education system, they're going to deny that a little bit at this point, is focused on content memorization. Read this, I'll give you a test, on to the next information, rather than having them look at it, think about it, ask questions, as opposed to just accept it, memorize it, and move on.
So how did you use critical thinking in the classroom, Dr. Hummus?
Well, again, I didn't assign a textbook. We had to have one, but I didn't assign much out of it. We would read pieces of it, and then I would talk to them about, I gave them a dozen obstacles to clear thinking, as I call them, logical principles. I'd say, let's use these to analyze that paragraph. And then I would have them go in and find contradictory statements in a chapter or things that weren't quite the same, getting them to think about the information, not memorize it. My thinking, I'm sorry, go on with that just briefly. My thinking is we don't need to memorize intentionally. When I read something, I'll remember it a year or two from now because I read it. It was important to me. You don't have to spend hours memorizing so you can make a check mark on a test page.
Right.
Yes.
All right, so the book itself, so how is it designed and how is it laid out? Talk about the content.
Yes, the layout essentially was to give somewhat the history of education in the United States over the last century and why it's much the same. Hasn't really changed much. That's not good. You'll get that out. And then taking through some modern, over the last 30, 40 years, 50 years, of educators who think differently about how we should educate and the importance of thinking. And we talk a lot about that. We talk about students should think. Well, we can't think much if we're memorizing all the time.
Right, but there's certain subjects like math you have to memorize.
To some degree. I think even mathematicians would agree that there's differences in how you can interpret mathematical theories, how you can formulate them. 2 + 2 = 4, maybe.
Right, okay. Okay, we have like 15 seconds left, unfortunately. So where can we find your book? And hold it up again for us.
Well, the book was at Barnes & Noble. I think they sold it out. I don't know if they restocked it, but you can get it at Amazon.com.
Okay, and again, it's The Myth of Education in America.
Yes.
By Dr. Richard Hummus. right?
Yes.
All right. Well, it's nice to have you with us on Talk of the Town.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Love
Appreciate it.
listening to all your concepts about learning and education. Thank you.
Thank you.